So to start our proceedings today, we have another guest speaker, and the list of all his accomplishments are truly astounding. I have a list here, and I think this is very much summarized. So I'd just like to read to you some of the things that our guest speaker for today has done. He is the author of a book called Beyond Your Limits, which is a motivational book. He was an actor in a film called Leo, which starred people such as Jeff Koinange, Chris Kerubi, and Trevor Gitonga. He is also an entrepreneur. He's the founder and CEO of the Fuzzy Brush International, and this is the world's first and only chewable toothbrush. They've currently sold over 120 million pieces worldwide. And also, he's a founding member of Jeunesse Global Africa, which focuses on anti-aging stem cell research and technology. So please put your hands together for our guest speaker for today, Mr. Paddy.
What did the cow say to the farmer on a cold February morning? Any guesses? Thanks for the warm hand. Don't worry, it's gonna get the Secretary General Virat Shah, the Deputy Secretary General Rohan Sanga, the co-chairs of General Assembly 1, Emily Mendenza and Sydney Park, as well as the co-chairs of General Assembly 2, Matthew Hoon and Ashil Shah, as well as the coordinators, Mrs. Lucy Adoyo, Mr. Eric Hammer, Mrs. Fabienne Heria, and Mrs. Winnie Francisco, as well as our birthday girl this morning, Wangari Murage, wherever you are, happy birthday. Delegates gathered here this morning. How are you this morning? No. You know what? There are 250 million words in the English language, and I'm sure we can pick a better one than find. Any other choices? Fantastic. Let's start again. Spectacular. How many like spectacular? All right. Let's spectacular. How are you this morning? Spectacular. You mean it. How are you this morning? In fact, turn to your neighbor and just give him a high five and say, you look as good. Thank you all for this amazing opportunity to be able to be with you this morning. My name is Patrick Maki, and I'm here to share with you a couple of ideas on the foundation of what we are here for. And I really want to ensure that these principles add value to your life. For you to give me a few moments of your time is precious, and I'd like that to be of value to you. So just immediately, I'd like to start off by sharing with you 5 ideas. 5 ideas that have shaped my life, and I believe that if you apply them, and if you take them to heart, it will do the same for you. Are you good with that? Are you okay with that? Yes. All right, let's go straight ahead. Right. The first and the most important idea I'd like to share with you is a word called philosophy. Philosophy. Now, what does that word mean? Phil is love, and osophy is thought. So the love of thought is philosophy. And one particular story that I never forget is a friend of mine who lost his wife recently from cancer. And she'd been struggling for a long time, but they were really good friends. And I used to love hanging out with her on Sunday afternoons. And as she was progressing in her illness, they fought it together. And they used to sit on the Sunday afternoon outside their house. They had a really big tree. And they'd sit there and chat the whole evening, the whole day, Sunday afternoon. And when she passed on, he called me one day and he asked me, "Can you come over and join me?" So I went over to see him, and he was seated there, and his wife's chair was empty, so I went and sat next to him. And he was just staring at this tree. And he just stared at it, didn't say a word. And for 20 minutes I watched him staring at the tree. And I asked him, "Sir, is there anything I can do?" And then he asked me, "Paddy, why do you think this tree is so strong?" And so I'd never looked at the tree before, so I looked at it the first time. And I thought maybe it's the roots. Must be the roots. And he said, "No." He said, "This tree is so strong because it has passed through many seasons. It's passed through darkness, light, summer, winter, cold, and heat. And without any of the seasons, it wouldn't be as strong as it is right now. In order for it to be strong, it needs every season." So he told me to always remember that seasons are important. Whatever season you're in, celebrate the season. And when you have that in your mind, you can overcome any challenge, and you'll also do things beyond your wildest imaginations. In fact, he shared with me one principle I'll share with you. He said, E plus R equals O. E stands for events. You can't control events in your life. They'll happen whether you like it or not. But R stands for response. The only thing that you can control in this world is your response to whatever happens to you. And O is outcome. The outcomes in your life right now are a result of the responses you have had to every event that happens. Whether you fail or not, it's how you take that failure that determines the outcome. I remember when I started business, I failed so many times I don't even remember. All I had was a vision and a dream. And I determined that with every adversity that I come to, it will be closer to the objective that I want to set. So keep that in mind. E plus R equals O. Now, I'd like to share with you a graphic. Now, this graphic, I've been processing this thing over like 6 years or so. So, at the top, what percentage of this, what is this, by the way, before we even start? It's an iceberg. We don't have many of them around here, but yeah, that's an iceberg. So, what percentage would you give the top bit, the one above the water? How many say 10%? All right, 10%. So that means 90% is below the surface. And this is who we are. This is who you are. This is who I am. 10% is what we show each other. It's what I show you, it's what you show me. 90% is underwater. You cannot tell what potential you have. Even I don't know. But that's how amazing a human being is. 10% is what you see, but we judge everything by what we see, right? I mean, you don't know what you're carrying. Underneath you is immense potential. All right, so 10%, let's say it represents behavior. So what do you think drives behavior? Just below the surface of the water. Any guesses? I'll give you a clue. Women are more in touch with this than men. Emotions, yes. Now guys, you have a lot to catch up on. Right, so your emotions drive your behavior. If you feel scared, if you feel nervous, you will behave that way. If you feel confident, you will behave the same way. So your emotions drive your behavior. What do you think drives your emotions? You're doing it right now.
Your thoughts.
That's it. Your thoughts. Your thoughts. As a man thinks, finish it for me. So is he. Your thoughts drive your emotions, and your emotions drive your behavior. So you must be in charge of the one thing that you do have ultimate control over, your thoughts. And then what do you think drives thoughts? It's the same reason why people pray and believe. I hear faith. And it's something that we're here today to celebrate. And I'll give this one to you. Values. Your values determine who you are. At the bottom of who you are values. And your values drive your thoughts. And your thoughts drive your emotions. And your emotions drive your behavior. And there are two types of values. There's the ones that we say to each other. How are you? I'm fine. How's everything? It's fantastic. But do you believe it? Do you really believe it? Because there's your actual values. Now, have you met people who have two completely different behaviors, and you're wondering, how did these two people live in one body? It's because they have two sets of values. Now, until your actual values and your stated values become one, that is when you will achieve any objective, any dream that you set for yourself. It will change your thoughts permanently. It will change your emotions. You'll be in control of those. You'll not get angry. You won't be frustrated. You'll be inspired constantly from within as opposed to without. And eventually, you'll change your behavior. So that's philosophy. Now the next one is equally important. It's called attitude. They say you must have an attitude of gratitude, regardless of where you are, who you're with, what you're going through. There's a time, and this was a story I heard, of a guy who was flying from one state to another in the US, and they only had sandwiches for dinner. I think they didn't have enough food. So everyone had a sandwich, and people were happy to receive that sandwich, except one guy. He kept ringing for the stewardess, ring, 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 and she came running down the aisle and asking, "Sir, do you have a problem today?" And the man said, "Yes, we have a problem. This is a bad sandwich." So of course, everyone heard him say that. And she, without missing a beat, lifted up the sandwich. And she took one look at it, and she smacked it. "Bad sandwich! Bad sandwich!" And she gave it back to him. Now, of course, I'm sure everybody, just like yourselves, were impressed. But if I was on that plane, I would really want to ask her, what made you choose your attitude? What made you respond instead of react to somebody as arrogant as that? And I believe it was her attitude. Your attitude will determine your altitude. You may be very intelligent, but you may have the wrong attitude. And it won't matter. Your character will keep you where you are. Your charisma will get you through the door. But always focus on your character. And the first point in character is attitude. You need to smile. You need to do it from within, as opposed to without. So the first one was philosophy. The second, attitude. Now the third is probably the most important once you've got the first two in line. This book, Beyond Your Limits, it's one of the most important journeys of my life, and I decided to write this for my children and my children's children. And no matter what happens to me, I'd love them to know who I am. And I've sweetened this little book with a little money. Money is always a good sweetener. Who wants this one? So if your future is that important to you, go and get it. What sacrifices do you need to make and pay the price? Pay the price for the future. If it's that important to you, pay the price in full. If the price is TV, sacrifice it. If the price is friends, wrong friends, sacrifice them. And put them on the altar of success. Anything you're able to give up today for who you will become in the future is worth the sacrifice. And that's what activity is. But activity is not easy. In fact, everyone do this for me. Put your hands together like this. And just see the thumb that's at the top, the one that's on top of the other. And then now I want you to change all your fingers and put the one that was below above. Make sure all the fingers come up and the other one comes to the top. Now how does that feel? It feels strange, doesn't it? It feels uncomfortable. What do you naturally want to do? You want to go back? And that is the one reason why many people do not get where they want to go. It is uncomfortable. Change is inevitably uncomfortable. But imagine if slavery was comfortable. Imagine what would have happened there. Imagine if poverty was a comfort zone. And people just go back to what they're comfortable with. It's important to keep challenging your comfort zone. If you're not growing, if you're not failing as fast as possible, you're not moving forward. Keep that in mind. Your activity will determine what you get. At the end of the day, it is that leads to my next point. But before that, the first one, philosophy. The second, attitude. The third is activity. Your activity. Now the fourth one is so important. It's called results. The bottom line results. You're judged by the results that you put on the table. My dad was my first business partner. We used to do business with him. He said, Paddy, if you get me an A, I'll get you 10,000 shillings. For every A you give me, I'll give you 10,000. If you give me a B, I'll give you 5,000. Because a B is not as good as what? An A. If you give me a C, I'll give you nothing. You know why? Because nobody rewards average. The world does not reward average. You don't remember the average person. If I give him a D, I owe him 5,000. Guess what? Because what is good for me is good for who? It's good for him.